Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions Tuesday afternoon. Returning to the show is Fee. How you doing, Fee?
I'm pretty good, Danny. Thanks so much for having me here today.
You're welcome. Do you want to give the audience a bit of background on yourself?
Okay, so I have been an FBA seller since the beginning of 2020. Prior to that, I had a digital marketing consultancy biz, which gave me a lot of skills that have certainly been useful in the FBA world. And last year was actually really kind to me in terms of my business. I launched in January, and with one product, it took off. That was my hero product, and that's the product we'll be talking about today. And expanded the range in October and November of last year.
Cool. And so, sorry, go on.
Yeah, and reached the seven figures pretty quickly. So within about 12 months, I hit that figure.
Well done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So let's talk about the issues that you faced going back to last year. I'll let you start the story and then I'll jump in at some of the parts because they've got a bit of a timeline. I think it'd be interesting for the listeners to understand the context of what was going on, what the problems are, how we resolved it, and how you went back up to 100 units a day.
Yeah, so look, I would say this hero product, which is the one I launched with in January of last year, by around November, beginning of November, I was, pretty much at around 100 a day. It did start to increase, obviously with, Christmas coming up. And I had pretty smooth sailing with Amazon up until that point. You know, when you go online onto any Facebook group, you see these horror stories of people's accounts being suspended, products being suspended. But of course, you always think that won't happen to me until the morning of Black Friday. I wake up and my hero product, well, the variation, I've got two color variations of this product, and one of them had been suspended. And I wasn't really given any reason. And this was on Black Friday weekend, one of the highest days for sales.
Yeah. So then what happened from there?
Obviously, went to Seller Central, spoke to them. They, at the time, told me it was something to do with copyright violation. But then it seemed every time I spoke to someone at Seller Central, I had different reasons given to me. There was no clear reason. So I was scratching my head. I had no idea what I had done wrong. And the issue was that once the listing had been suspended, any changes I made to that listing, they would not update in the back end.
Yeah.
So every time I tried to put an appeal in that first week, so I was sitting there watching the sales just go crazy with the other products and whatnot, and hearing everyone say my sales are going nuts, and my main product could not sell because it was deactivated. And I started putting appeals in, and they were instantly rejected by Seller Central, by the appeals section. Yeah. And I was frustrated because
were these automated ones? So like actually, as soon as you served it, they bounced back straight away.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I would spend an hour and a half, 2 hours writing these big long appeals, trying to, I reached out to different people who'd been through the process, tried to get the wording right, and then within seconds, the rejection came back.
So where did we go from here?
Well, that's when I spoke to you and you suggested that I might need some external help, which I took your advice because this problem seemed bigger than what I could handle on my own. And, Hero was at 0 sales. The one color variation was still selling at that point. And it was enjoying the rush of Christmas. Yeah. But it was so frustrating to see the other color just sitting there stagnant.
Yeah. So you went to a suspension company. What happened from there? How did this diagnosis start?
Well, for them, even for the experts, when they looked at, the original letter of my suspension and looked at the responses to my appeals, for them, it was also unclear as to exactly what I had done. All I was told was I had violated the listing terms of service. So something in my product detail page had upset the algorithm. The bots had picked up on something, but we weren't exactly sure what. So they went through the listing, they picked it apart, picked a couple of things we updated it, They wrote a big long appeal letter, and we couldn't. Once again, we did the updates in the back end. They weren't accepted. They weren't up. Like you could log in and you could see the changes were there, but it wasn't.
But they weren't pushed front of house. Yeah, they weren't appearing on the product.
No, it wasn't accepting it. So that was like a 4-week process, back and forth with these specialists. And each time they became, and obviously so, because their job was to get my listing live.
Well, that's their job. So we'll get to the point because of the correction after. But ultimately, a reinstatement company, their end goal is to get you live as fast as possible. That is the macro, isn't it? But the stuff that goes on in between and the side effects. So what actually, from that point of view, got them live? You gutted the listing effectively, didn't you, at the time?
Well, and this is where things became even more devastating, because they did say, look, we're going to have to gut the listing. And that included taking out the majority of my top keywords.
Yeah.
Now, one keyword that they felt could have been the problem is the word gift. I'm in a gift category.
Which we'll get into in a minute, how we fix that.
Yeah. So a lot of my keywords had gift in them. So not only did we have to strip the listing that was deactivated, but also the one that was active. So the more we fiddled with this and see, that one was updating, but the deactivated one wasn't. So I then watched the sales just absolutely plummet for the activated listing. And finally, we had a few calls with the company managed to get me on some calls with Amazon. That took about 4 calls. And finally, it was like a magic wand had been waved, and the listing was reinstated. My changes were approved, and boom, I was back live.
And then you indexed, then you was waiting, and you were still waiting, and it didn't really climb, did it? By the time you come back to me, what you up to about 15, 20 units a day, from 100 down to 15, 20.
Yeah.
So, all right, for me to take up this part of the story?
Of course.
So you contact me, we sat down, we went through it all. And the first thing, like when you explained to me what the situation happened, how they do it. So as soon as you said they gutted the listing, I knew straight away you're going to lose all of your ranking, all your indexes are going to disappear. You got none of your main keywords, and that's it. That's how A9 works on a macro level. You're going to need to have your keywords, and when you make an adjustment to a listings, of course, it's going to have an impact on sessions and everything else. But the big thing for me, the first thing I did was done Control F and typed in the word gift on the search results page. And we looked at it, and every single listing was highlighted in yellow, wasn't it? Where it said gift in the title. Every single one. As you scrolled, all it said was gift, 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 gift. So then what I suggested to you to do next is to say, look, it can't be the gift thing. So there must be an additional problem that you've had to deal with prior to this. And what happened, and we don't know this for confirmation, but around that time when everyone was camel casing the bullet points, the first few words in each of the bullets, obviously Amazon was sending out notifications for that last year. I've got official notifications, and I see a lot of categories clearing out, and that you're in a high velocity category, obviously doing 100 units a day. And so that was my take on it. I felt, because I remember that when we discussed, we would go back and reverse back the listing, you had them all camel case. So what the step we took next was to contact Amazon and show them, so that we had some paperwork for the next changes coming up, because the gift keyword has to go back in with the other keywords. Otherwise, you're gonna sink. And so we'd done a screen grab, didn't we, of everything highlighted, and then we sent that into Amazon, not because they're going to do anything, because they're fucking idiots, but what would have happened is that at least we had that on file. When anything comes up in the future, we produced that to show that everyone else is using the gift keyword thing. So we isolate that problem. We done that. You got what was the message come back? Was it just automated garbage or?
Yeah, look, that even took 3 to 4 goes. I said, look, I just want to confirm, just here's evidence that every single, listing in my category uses the word gift, and I'd like to reinstate it, but I want to be sure that if I do that it's not going to impact my listing. I'm not going to be suspended. And I went round and round in circles, and it was by the 4th person they looked at this, and they actually put it in writing that there should be no issue for me to reinstate the word gift into my listing again.
And the thing is, we could have gone quicker, but the next step was, right, let's just returned the title to exactly what it was before, including the gift keywords. We left that a couple of days. Then it was the bullet points. Then it was the script. Then it was the back end keywords. Then it was the bullet points, and then it was description. How long did it? I mean, that was over a 2-week period. I mean, we could have gone faster. We decided to take it slow because it was measured, right? So we can account for every change that went along, so that it's all documented. So any reverse engineering we had to do or rollbacks, we knew exactly what to do. Yeah. So that took place maybe over a 2-week period. So how long did it take you to go from the 15 to 20 sales a day back up to the 100 sales a day?
It was about another 6 weeks.
Right. Okay. And that's probably because of down to sales velocity and everything. It all needs to start to build back up, obviously re-index as it was before as a listing.
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, now the one that was suspended is starting to sell more than what it was prior to the suspension.
Yeah. Cool.
But we're now several months into that journey now. So
yeah, I haven't had a chance to chat with Ellis today. What did he make any changes on the PPC front to account for this? What was the last meeting that you had with him? Did you go through anything with him?
Yeah, look, one of the things we have introduced is sponsored brand video ads.
Yeah.
So I think that's made quite a big difference because visually to see my product in video is quite a big sell point. So that has helped to recover it definitely.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know that, you know, it's like wizardry what Ellis and the team do in terms of promoting the brand as a whole anyway, and that one product is part of an overall picture now.
Yeah. Cool. So now that's recovered, what's I mean, if we top down, effectively what happened, you got suspended, you wasn't sure what it was, went to the suspension company, they tried to, you know, do a spray and pray, try and work out all these different things. You deal with Amazon over a period of time, still not got it locked in, took a safety first approach. The listing was gutted, but unfortunately that's no benefit for the brand side of things, but it did get you reactivated. And then the next steps is we took it slowly. We checked the keywords. We see that every listing, we've done a screen grab, sent it off to Amazon. Amazon responded after 3 or 4 times, accepted that you can put it back in. So we changed the title. We left it for a few days, allowed that to index to see if there's any problems, any suppressions or anything. Then it was a back end search terms. It doesn't, I don't believe it really matters what order you get it in, like, you know, but title and bullets are going to be really important, like back end keywords, description, not so much so. But ultimately the route that we went was title, back end keywords, bullet points and description at the same time over a couple of week period, just to document. As I said, we could have probably done it a lot faster, but then we had to wait for the sales velocity to pick up. Obviously, Ellis made some adjustments at the agency as well. But the key thing is the impact on your business. What do you think you lost in revenue from Black Friday up until end of January?
For that particular one that was suspended, so it was suspended for 6 weeks in total.
Yeah.
And I would say that it would have been high 5 figures for sure.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
But overall, if I was to look at both variations, it would have been close to a 6-figure loss over 6 weeks. Yeah. Because
pretty
it was and that's only because it was a Christmas period. I think if it had been, you know, middle of the year, it wouldn't have been quite so devastating. But looking at the sales and the tracking, you know, just one color variation before I started fiddling with that listing, it did 1,300 in a week.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you then add the other color variation and you can see what kind of sales volume I lost.
So what's the future for you? What you got lined up? What's coming up? You did Branded by Women, didn't you?
Yeah,
earlier on in the year.
That was fantastic. And thank you so much for having me there. It was really exciting to be amongst all those beautiful, amazing women. So yeah, look, just continuing to build the brand in terms of the range. And really excited about where it's going this year. I mean, the numbers are already just so exciting to see.
Yeah. Cool. Is there anything you want to cover before we go? Because we must let everyone know, like, local time for you now, what's that, 3 a.m. in the morning?
No, it's actually not. Well, it's 1:15 in the morning. So yeah, hence the blurry eyes.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
No, look, I just wanted to say, look, I think the big thing for anybody who might be facing suspension is just breathe. And you know, you do get through these things, and it's so frustrating because half the time you don't have the information that you desperately want, which is why, we want to know why so we can fix it, because
Well, that's why you explore, don't you? You have to go down and break everything like in a regiment fashion to work out and do everything in isolation. You test that, and test it. And unfortunately, that all takes time. But if you throw the kitchen sink at it, you have no idea what worked. Cybe says, sounds like a total nightmare. Glad to hear things back. What can be done to minimize the risk of suspension? That's a real broad question, as you know. In this case scenario, I believe it was down to camel case in the bullet points, but you didn't get the alert. You just got the suspension because everything that went back into listing was exactly the same, minus the bullet points weren't camel cased at the beginning.
And, and every single one of my competitors still has camel casing at the beginning of the bullet points. So
it's interesting. Yeah.
And none of them have been suspended.
Yeah. So we don't know, but like that, my analysis was that. And the only thing you've now got different on your listing from 100 sales down to back to 100 sales, nothing is different on your listing now other than it's not camel cased.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
so
right. Exactly.
We're never going to know. But going back, there's another question. Dick here says, so what triggered the suspension in the first place? Again, Dick, we don't know, but what we feel like we isolated it to was uppercased starts the bullets, the first couple of words, which was very common last year. A lot of people got taken out of the game or at least suppressed for it. But the answer is we don't fully know. But what we do know is that we went through a step-by-step process of recovering the sales, and Fiona is back in the game, if you like.
Yeah. The only other thing that was flagged as possibly could have triggered it incorrectly was that I had my own brand name, because one of the early things they said was, copyright violation. So unless it had something to do with the fact that I mentioned my own brand name in my listing, as I say, like Danny's saying, we really are just stabbing in the dark. Yeah. But the one thing that I did do, which is definitely against terms of service, is that having the initial 2 words of the bullet points in uppercase letters.
But I think this show is less about the actual suspension, but more about the recovery.
Yeah.
And what happened is when the listing was gutted, the sales obviously drop, and it is the process that we used to get back. And as I'll say to everyone that listening, you could probably done it a lot faster than we did, but we didn't want to take the risk. So you were down anyway. You might as well try and do it properly. It was painful. You lost more money. As I said, it could have been done quicker. But the thing is, pardon me, it's done now. You're back in the game, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, and so grateful for the team that helped me get there, and for all your support.
You've got good people around you. You've got other people that help you a lot with the business and stuff. So
and that's what helped me keep my sanity in all of that, because it is stressful. Reaching out to the right people who have experience with this is one of the best things you can do.
Cool. All right. Before we go, guys, just to let you know, we are looking for account manager at Databrill. There is a $1,500 finder's fee. Contact Danny at databrill.com for more details. If we obviously sign them to the agency, there'll be $1,500 payout. I'll be back here again tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the news from the inventory changes made by Amazon Thursday of last week and some ways to work around that. So Tal Assad will be joining me again here tomorrow. Take care of yourself and your families. Much love. And Fee, thank you for coming in. I'll see you again soon.
Thanks so much, Danny.